Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to start doing the Flying Dutchman. We're going to get things stained up, we're going to get things cut out, we're going to get things starting to glue up. So if you want to see that and more of this brand new build, this is going to be one epic journey that you're not going to want to miss. Make sure you stay tuned. Hello BSC family and welcome back to my bench. So like I said in the opener, we're going to be starting this brand new build. This is something that OcCre sent to me. So right off the bat, a very big thank you to OcCre for sending me this, plus a whole lot more. And if you haven't seen any of that, I'll leave a link up here in the corner for you, and you can go check out some of that, or you can just go to the channel because there's going to be the unboxing of the ship, the unboxing of everything else they sent me, right? I mean, it's amazing. It's going to be an amazing kit, and I'm going to be doing a lot of extra stuff to this. There's LEDs to it. I'm going to add to that. There is a base for it. I'm going to be using stuff from Loot Studios, you know, for a base and for add-ons. Yeah, so make sure you stick around. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, make sure that all notifications are turned on so you don't miss out on anything. Definitely like this video, share these videos for me please. That all of that helps so much. Give me a follow on my Instagram and my Facebook group. Links for them are down below. And hey, if you want some merch or help out the channel in any way, I have a PayPal me link down there, and I do have a Teespring store. You can check out some merch, maybe pick something up for yourself. So with all that, here, let's finally get to this, right? So again, this is from OcCre. Link for their website will be down below. Go give them a check out because they have some amazing wooden ship build kits that you can pick up. Okay, amongst much other stuff, like there's the workstation that they sent me. Again, there'll be a link up in the corner here for you that way. There'll be a link for you in the corner there of the unboxing, and you can surely find the build for it. Maybe I'll even put the links for them down in the description for you. Leave your comments on what you think about these types of ships. Someday I'd like to get the Black Pearl to go with this, right? So something I haven't unboxed yet is the paint kit that they sent me for this. Again, thank you very much, OcCre. I got to do an unboxing of this stuff yet, but I kind of stole the stain out of it because we're going to be staining a bunch of this stuff. Okay, now I've got the PDF up here, which you can download from their site. But it comes with these books. This is very full color booklets. I mean, step by step of everything, you know, beautiful, beautiful booklets. It's got the parts layout in the back here somewhere. I think it's before all the rigging. Yeah, right here. It's got all the parts layout. You know, there's, what, 4 pages, 3 or 4 pages here worth of parts layout. Your LED wiring, and then it gets into your rigging. But beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to be looking at my PDF. But one thing is my dad was going to do a big scale of the other ship I'm working on, and yes, I'm still working on it. So make sure you you know, you pay attention for which videos are coming out. Going to be doing both at the same time. I know, pretty crazy, right? But he's changed his mind and he wants to upscale this one, right? So he's looking probably 5 to 6 times the size of what this one is. So before I started with any of this, I chopped up the PDFs and printed it all out for him and everything so that he's got everything as a 1-to-1 scale so he can measure it and then upscale it by 5 or 6 times, right? So I'll be putting that stuff on my channel as well. I'll make a special playlist just for him. So when he starts doing that, You guys can check that out as well, you know. So I'm going to put this aside because he's going to end up using this. Like I said, I got the PDF. So I've got this stuff here. I got some newspaper down because I got to stain this stuff, right? Now I was kind of debating, what do I do here? Which's the best way? They show to put your numbers and letters because nothing is numbered on here at all. So they show putting the numbers right on here, but I got to stain it anyways. And I didn't want to take the chance that my pencil marks or whatever you use comes through the stain. I didn't want that. So I put everything off to the side of the part. Now, staining everything, my dilemma is, do I stain it like this and let it dry, flip it over, stain the other side because I got to do both sides, right? And then at that point, cut everything out, sand up my little pieces, you know, where it's still attached, and then touch up the edges with stain, right? Then I can assemble things. Or do I cut everything, sand my edges, and stain each one individually, trying to keep them in order because, well, they won't have numbers on them. So I'm thinking I may stain them just like this and leave it to dry, flip it, stain it again. Then as I go to assemble, I can cut them out, sand them, stain the edges. It shouldn't take long because I believe it's an acrylic stain, so it shouldn't take long for it to dry. And I can just stain one, and as I'm working with that one after it's dry, I'll stain the next one and it can dry while I'm assembling, right? So I just kind of work my way down. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I don't have a foam brush, which would probably be the best way. I can see if I've got a couple garbage brushes. I'd rather have a nice wide one. Normally staining wood, you'd use some sort of rag or something. I'm not sure if that would work with this. Usually I work with an oil stain. I do believe this is an acrylic stain. So yeah, see, a water-based dye. So that's what we're going to have to do, is just use water for cleanup, and it should dry pretty quickly, right? Okay, so I'm going to get a couple things out. I'll come back and I'll show you what I'm doing. And yes, these are going to be longer videos, but they are going to be pretty much a step-by-step video, right? Hopefully, if you guys get one, you can come back to these videos and kind of see what the process is and, you know, follow along. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some sort of cup or something to put some of the dye in, and find a brush or something, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back here. So went and got some water for cleaning. I got a bunch of little cups that I can use if I need. I got the saw, found a paintbrush, nice wide paintbrush, or as wide as I've got anyways. I've also found some of this old, it's like packing sponge, so maybe that'll work too. Now and I've got a glove, you know. I'm going to try and do things a little smarter this time around. But looking at the instructions, I've got to sand everything first. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to cut them out and sand them, and I'm just going to have to try and keep them in order, right? So with that being said, I'm going to use my razor saw, because this stuff's pretty thick. The knife has a hard time going through it, but I can, yeah, I'll get this stuff cut out. Now, using your razor saw, it's going to be fairly easy. You know, you're going to find wherever it's attached, cut through. Now this isn't needed, so follow your instructions. I need a box to put wood in, but that's okay. I'm going to try with the knife, just because the last ship I was doing, or am doing, seemed to be really hard to go through. Yeah, no, see, it's not going to work. So I've got myself some of this really heavy cardstock, so I'm going to put this under so the saw isn't ruining my desktop. And yeah, just kind of work your way down till it releases. I'm only showing you this one here because I'm going to go find actual what do they want? A1? No, A1. A1 is the keel, so I need 2 through A16. So, yeah, so you're just going to cut these out, just carefully, all right, like that. And there you go. Now you've got your first piece out, all right? Now, I've got files here somewhere. I want one that's kind of semi-round. No, that's square. That's completely round. This is half triangular. That's fully round. Let's find one here that's half round. Yeah, it's a double round. Double oval anyways. It's a flat oval. Square. Full flat. Wedge. So we're just going to put that off to the side. I'm going to use this one. It's kind of an ovally shaped double round diamond file. So what you're going to do is you're going to go along. I should have my flat one too. I'm sorry guys, I'm all freaking confuzzled on what's going on. Actually, that's both. Okay. So one side's flat, one side's rounded. So on the flat side, you can use the file, get rid of that nub, right? Anywhere that's sticking up. Now you're going to sand this anyways, but filing the nub is a lot easier. And instead of trying to sand it down where you could accidentally sand too much of the framework, which is, then you end up with this little dip that you don't want. So nothing there. I got one up here. Now this one's an inside curve, so that's where you're going to want the rounded side. So you're not digging the edge of a flat file into the curve. Just take your time. You know, there's no rush because you're going to sand all this anyways. And I like to try and go on a bit of an angle, not just straight across. I try to go on an angle. I don't know if you can see that. Instead of going straight across, I go on an angle, back and forth. Basically the same way you would do body work on a car. All right. And this one here is kind of a rounded the other way. That's why I was using a flat side. So yeah, so there we go. We're going to do that. And then we're probably going to take the 320. I think it's almost time for a new one. But we're going to sand this here so that it can accept stain nicely. Because you're going to have to stain these edges. Yeah, I think I need a new one. So we're going to jump it up to the 180. Now I'm pretty sure that you're going to stain these edges after, because the fact that once you start doing planking, you're going to have to contour some of these anyways. But it's nice to get some of the pre-sanding done so that the stain can take to it, and you don't have to worry about manhandling the ship too much while you're trying to sand it after it's been put together. All right, if you can get most of it done now, better off. And all you're trying to do is get rid of the charring, all right, the charring from the laser cutter. So that's what you're trying to get rid of. Now there's going to be lots of it because there is the inside that you're going to have to do as well, because you are going to see that with the side of this ship being open. Right, part of this ship, the side of it is open so that you can see all the cargo, you can see the cannons, and all the LED work that's going to go in there. Right. Now I'm just showing this one. This one here is a 12. You are going to have to. I am going to have to basically start at number one. Start at number one and work my way all the way through, and try to keep them in order. So you can do it either way. To me, I think this is going to be the best way for me. Now, if you think there's a better way, or you've done a better way because you build ships as well, hey, let me know, and then I'll know that for the next time around. because I'm sure this won't be the last ship I do, and I'm still working on the other one, but I'm already past the bulkhead stage. So, and if you want, go check that out. It's on my channel. It's under what is it, the San Francisco 2/pirate ship, because I am converting it into a pirate ship. All right, so that one's going to be pretty cool on its own. So this is what we're just going to do all the way across, all the way around. Make sure everything is nicely sanded so that the stain can get to it, because I don't know if the stain, like if the charring from the laser is actually going to affect the stain or not. You know, like if it's going to still take stain, if it's going to be the right color. So I figured I'm going to do this. It may be more work than I need to do. Maybe it's going to be fine. And if I didn't do this, let me know down in the comments, you know, if you've stained over the charring from laser cutters and if it affected it at all or what. Now I'm pretty sure that if you're trying to stain this a light color, obviously you'd have to bring it back to the light color, the natural color of wood, so that the dark charring does not affect the light color stain. In this case here, we're going to be staining it nice and dark, right? So it is the Flying Dutchman. It's supposed to be dark, so I'm just going to brush all this off. Now you're going to sand the face of this stuff as well. So I'm just going to show you how to stain the first one, cut it out, how to sand it and everything. And then I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to do the rest of them. All right. And you guys, if you're following along and you're building it too, you can do the same thing while I'm doing it. So now this stuff here, I'm assuming back in the day when these ships were built, they were probably rough sawn. Some of it was probably hand hewn, you know, so I plan on making it roughly hand hewn. Now hand hewn, that is basically when they take axes and draw blades and stuff like that and they carve up the wood. Now I'm not going to do the outside edge, just for the fact that it's going to get sanded anyways, for the contour of the planks, right, as a whole. But I'm thinking maybe on the inside what I could do is lightly hand hewn the inside. Now I don't know if the best way to make, basically beveling these edges, I don't know if the best way would be a knife or if I should just sand it. But I kind of want that rough hand hewn look on the inside. But you gotta be careful not to take too much off, or you know, you could totally screw up something else, you know, the fitment of something. So I think I'm gonna, yeah, see, it wants to dig in too much, so I think I'm just going to, now I could probably use the Dremel to do this, which is probably the better way. Now here there's going to be a deck, so there's no point in doing that spot. You're probably not going to see a whole hell of a lot at that point. And being that it's the Flying Dutchman, I want it kind of beat up a little bit too anyways. So I may take things like the file, dig a few grooves into it. File is probably the best way to begin with. Yeah, so if you got yourself a nice wood file or diamond file or something like that, it's probably the best way to do it. This is working really nice. See, you're going to learn just as I do, you know, doing stuff here. I'm just making some marks here, make it look like it's hand hewn a bit. Now one thing you should probably do is look ahead in your things, which is what I'm going to do here in a second. And I don't know if you're going to see down in this area here. Right, the planks might be up high enough that you'll never see down in there because of the deck. So I'm going to check that just to make sure to see, do I need to put anything down there or mark it up kind of the same way. Right. So we're just going to clean off that dust. And I'm going to take a quick scroll here through my PDF. Deck work. Deck there, deck. That's all stained. Upper deck, side wings. Now we're getting into the LED. Yeah, see, most of it's covered, so you're not going to see a whole hell of a lot of it. There is a few spots that you'll probably see in. So it'll be totally up to you. Now, for the amount that I see that you're going to be able to see, I'm not going to bother down there. Mainly you're going to see up in this area here, right? Now there is some spots, I'm not sure where it is, but we can figure that out later where I can dent and, you know, hand hewn some of this as well. So yes, I've got this stained up. Now what I'm going to do, I just want to make sure I've got all these little wood burrs and stuff gone. One little spot that kind of took a chunk out of, so I'm just trying to flatten it back out. Everything feels good now. I'm going to dust that off. Now I've got a paper towel ready, and I'm going to put this stuff off to the side for a minute here. So one thing I'm going to try and do first is I'm going to do a test along a piece that's not going to be used, and I'm going to see if the sponge is going to work or the paintbrush will work better. So it's telling me I need that color, which if we look on our reference page here, it says reference 19211, right? And that is walnut. So we need the walnut stain, and it comes in like this, right? Now there is no metal ball or plastic ball, whichever. There's no ball, mixing ball, in any of the paints or dyes or anything like that. So I put some in. I've got some stainless steel. Make sure they're stainless steel because this is acrylic. If you use just regular steel balls, it will rust inside, right? So you need stainless steel. Or if you can find the plastic coated ones, even better. So now there is a spout on here. Now I don't know if it's better to find my paintbrush. Is right here. Do we just drip it on? Now are we going to have to wipe it off like you would with a normal stain? Or where's my cups? I'll put a little bit in the cup. Looks good like that. I think the sponge is actually going to absorb too much. I think. Actually, the sponge works pretty good. See, you're testing right along with me as I do it. You're seeing it. Yeah, I think put it on and leave it. Okay, so we're going to stain this first one together. I'm going to rinse this off. Rinse my brush out because I'm going to use the sponge. And we're going to leave it. We're not going to wipe off any excess. Careful not to drip water on anything or it will totally distort things. Yeah, see, I like it better when it's left on. It might take a little longer to dry, but I think it'll look better. So we're going to put that off to the side. We're going to put this off to the side. Now we're going to stain this first piece. And we have to remember that this is A12. Now I think everything would be fine if I put markings down right by the keel, because we know that this is going to get covered after. You will not see that number down there. So again, we're going to just put more in here, like so. We're going to dip our sponge in it, and we're just going to start covering. And yes, I will be using the glove. I'm just doing this one piece here, and then I'll glove up and do the rest. Now I want to put a timer on this as well to see how long it's going to take to dry. Now there's probably some spots you're probably going to have to use the paintbrush, you know, throughout the model. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to keep it around. So now we're going to flip it over to the other side here. I am purposely trying to make it look blotchy and darker in some spots than others, just because this thing, you know, if you watch the movies, the Flying Dutchman, with Pirates of the Caribbean, right? The thing goes underwater, so I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of water soak in the beams and stuff. So there we have it. Okay, nice and dark. All right. So we're going to let this dry. I'm going to see how long it takes. It is now 20 to 9 p.m. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to leave it propped up just a little bit so it's off. And yeah, I can't see where I wrote the number. So it doesn't matter if you write on it or not. You're not going to be able to see it. Okay. So I'm going to do the rest of this stuff off camera. We're going to do it the same process. We're going to cut them out, sand them, weather them a little bit by sanding and cutting and things like that. And then we're going to stain them. So when I've got all of that done, I will come back and we'll probably start putting this thing together, because I'm going to let them dry before I come back. So while you're waiting, go check out the unboxing for this and maybe some of the other things that I've done, and get yours done if you're following along. And if you're not, hey, go check out OcCre. There might be something there that you want to pick up. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, everybody. So we've got everything completely stained, sanded, all ready to go to start gluing. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing next. What I did was I stained the keel first, right? And I put it in this holder from OcCre here. This is the workshop cabinet. You know, you can check it out on their website. The link for them is down below. But anyways, I just used the cradles and put the keel in it after I stained it and let it dry, and closed up the cradle so it's acting like a keel clamp, right? And just moved it around so that it sat in between the ribs. Later on, what I might be doing is actually making more slots, just so I have a little more adjustability. Maybe put a couple in the center, and then the outer edges in between the two that are here, right? So I'll put one in the center on both sides, and then maybe another set further out. All right, so but as you can see, this thing sits in here very nicely. So I got them all sanded and all stained. They are all dry. It's been about 2 days doing all of this. So hopefully you've got yours done. Hopefully you're ready to follow along. And like I was saying, I did the keel first, put that in after it dried. And then as I sanded these, to keep them in order, I put them back in its spot. See, none of them are glued in. All right, put them in their respective places, right? Then as I stained them, I took one out, stained it, put it back in its spot so it can dry thoroughly, you know, without laying down on a piece of paper and getting stuck or something like that. So everything worked beautifully that way. So what I'm going to be using is these 1, 2, 3 blocks, right? Now in some cases like this one here, I've got the wing nut down in the bottom, right? And I can't put it the way I want to, so I'm going to take this one out, and then I'll put this one in sideways, right? And then I'm going to take this out so that my hand has space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, because some of them do wiggle around, right? I'm going to keep it tight to one side, keep this flat against the keel, and then square it up with the bulkhead, right? Then I'm going to use magnets, real strong magnets, and I'm going to take one and I'm going to put it on the wood so that it sucks it tight to the 1, 2, 3 block. So that's how I'm going to keep everything nice and tight, right, and square. Now hopefully by pushing it to one side, right, by pushing it to one side, the keel will stay flat here, so this will stay flat where it needs to be, and then using the 1, 2, 3 block, everything will stay square. Okay, these magnets are so strong. So I'm going to glue this one in first. Now to glue this one in, we're just going to use some wood glue. All right, some standard wood glue, and I'll probably put a touch of CA glue right down on the center where they would meet. Okay, so if this is the keel, it's got the, ouch, that hurts. If this is the keel, I'd put some right down in here so that when you put this on, your wood glue catches up here, and the CA glue will bond it down tight, right? Now I have to make sure which one's which. Well, let's hope that's the one. That one goes there. Okay, I'm going to check the PDFs. Give me a minute. I'm going to make sure that this one's in the right spot. I'll be right back. Okay, so yes, it is in the right spot. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on the inner on both sides, especially once my glue actually starts working. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do all of these, right? Once I get away from these wing nuts here, I won't need to kind of move things around because I can take this and turn it sideways. So I'm going to do all of these. You go ahead and do all of yours, and once I've got them all glued in and they're ready to go, and I missed some stain, good thing we can touch that up, because we're going to do some sanding anyways on the outside when it comes time for the ribs or for the planking. And yeah, we're going to get these done up pretty quick. So you go ahead and glue yours. I'm going to finish gluing all of mine, and when that's all done and ready to go, I'll come back and I'll show you where I'm at. Sound good? See you in a few. Okay, everybody, so I've got this all glued together. How'd you do on yours? Did you get yours all done? Get it all glued together? Well, hopefully you did, because I'm going to jump on to the next step. So page B, it's going to be the planking of the decks for the lower deck anyways. But here, let me show you this. So this is sat overnight. It's taken about, pretty much 2 days kind of thing. If you include the dry time, things like that. Now I'm going to touch up a few things, right? So this is how it's looking. We've got everything nice and flat, level, straight, right? Everything is good. And yes, I did miss one spot right here, the stain, but that's okay because we're going to end up sanding the outside of this anyways, right? So when we do the contouring for the planking, right? So that's going to have to get restained anyways on the outside. And I might go along, I have some black super glue, well, black CA glue, and I might go along each joint, right? Anywhere it's touching kind of thing, just to reinforce it a little bit. Shouldn't have to, you should be good otherwise, but I want to just because it's my model and that's what I want to do. So now that we're that far, and by the way, this like workstation ship holder here is just freaking awesome. Like right now, like I said, I've got it set in such a way that I can use it as a keel clamp. You know, I could tighten it up a little bit, but I didn't put felt in between because I never thought of using it as a keel clamp, right? I don't have felt in between. So I've got extra that came with this. So I might end up putting some felt in there just for that reason. You know, using it as a keel clamp, right? So, but either way, that sits in there nice. You know, it's a little loose, but that's okay. So that sits in there good. So now the next step we're going to be getting into is the planking. Now, I have my planking already cut out, and I mean, you know how to cut out wood, you know how to cut out and clean up all your edges. And the reason I have it out is something while I was gluing things together, I kind of thought, well, you know, help keep this stuff straight, even though I showed you how I was doing it. But I thought, could we just use these at the same time? Right? Can't put it in because this is on there, but basically if you were to line all this stuff up, I think this is the wrong end. Yes, it is. This one here. If you line all these up and kind of just set them in place, it keeps everything sitting at the perfect spacing, right? So while things are still wet and malleable a bit, you could drop these things in and everything's going to stay in its perfect spot, right? Looks like I've got some sanding to do. Oh no, it's in the wrong spot, that's why. There we go. So yeah, it keeps everything perfectly spaced, right? So you put both sides in, no problem, away you go. So maybe just a little tip for you to help you out, you know, if you haven't done this yet, you know, yeah, check that out, it might help you out. So yes, otherwise I have cut all these things out, right? I've got all the pieces cut out, I've got them sanded. I have to double check which way they go, but I think it goes like this. Now I found that mine are a little warped, but they're thin enough and flexible enough, and it actually works to my advantage too, because the front deck and the back portion of the deck are actually sloped, right? So you'll have the middle that's flat, right? You'll have the middle that's flat, and then the front one, you know, sits like this. This is exaggerated, right? And then the back one does the same thing, goes up as well. So it actually benefits me that, you know, these are a little warped. Okay. So if yours are too, just double check that, you know, because mine are warped this way right now, and that helps me out. So if yours are too, double check on yours. And my suggestion is put the bow downwards, and it helps out quite a bit. If you go up, then you got to try and put some weight on here and almost go in reverse. Now you could steam this and flatten them out and everything else. The two back pieces seem to be nice and flat. It's only the middle one and the front portion. Now that could have been just from being the way it was packed in the box. Maybe this was overhanging a bit, you know, because it was stacked on top of other wood. Maybe there was nothing under it supporting it, and it just over time going sag down. So, but we got those. So the next thing we're going to be doing is you can do this by ruler. All right, find my ruler here for you. Okay, now we're going to take some of this really thin sycamore wood. Okay, this here is the 0.6 by 5. Okay, it's 5 mil wide, 0.6 thick, and it's I think 600 long. Right, and what they want you to do is you're going to have to go through. Up here it says B1, so you're going to have to find B1, right? You need 266 pieces of 0.6 by 5, 65 millimeter long, okay? So we need 266. So the easiest way, instead of counting most of them, right, and that's going to take forever, just take your 266 on your calculator, right? Take 266, cut up however long your pieces of wood are, okay? So if you cut this, mine happens to work out that I can make 9 pieces, right? 9 pieces out of one strip, okay? So you take 266, divide by 9, and in my case it was 29.5, right? It'll give me 29.5 sticks that I need, okay, to make my 266 pieces, okay? So you could do this by ruler, you know, so you just find your 65 millimeters, like so, and then you take your X-Acto knife and you cut it off, right? Now, if you have the money or the capabilities to pick up one of those chopper blocks from the various different brands that are out there, go ahead. Now for me, on the other hand, I don't have that type of money, so I went out and I made one of these. I made it quite a long time ago because I use it for other stuff, right? And it's these little clamps here. You can get these from Amazon, right? They just open up and close. You know, so I bought a pack, I think it was a pack of 4. I've got an old steel ruler and just a piece of plastic or something to use as a stopper. And away I went, right? So let's make sure that none of this moved. Yeah, still at 65. So now you can take this, you can put it on here, up against the block, right? Hopefully you can see that. Now you just come to the end of the steel and give it a cut. So we need to do that basically 266 times. Now I find that one of these little Olfa blades with a bigger blade seem to work a little better. This one's got a chip in it, so I can break that off, put this in my used blade container. So yeah, we're just going to go in here, put that up against the stop block, come in here and cut. So there you go. So that's what we're going to end up with, right? A bunch of these little sticks, and these, once we mark this out, these will end up, blade, knife, these will be on there, right? Kind of like so. Can you even see that? There you go. So that's what you're going to end up with, right? So go ahead. It's going to take you a while because I've already done a whole bunch of them. I just left a couple left to show you guys, but yeah, I've cut a whole bunch of them. So go ahead, cut yours. I'll finish cutting up these 2 that I left to finish up for you guys. And yeah, once we got that done, then we'll go on to the next step. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, did you get them all cut? Took you forever, didn't it? Right? Yeah, trust me, I know. Anyway, so the next thing that we're going to be doing, once you've got all your planking cut up, and trust me, we're going to have to do this again because this is just the lower deck. We still have the upper deck to do, so you're going to end up doing this again. So don't move your measurement thing unless you have to, right? You're doing something else. So next thing they want you to do is take a bunch of these things here. I'm also going to need one of these. So we're going to need a pencil for this, right? Make sure it's well sharpened. We're going to need a couple clamps, right? And at some point we're going to need a ruler, so make sure you have your ruler by. We don't need the knife yet, but keep it nearby. So what they want you to do is take a bunch of these, right? Doesn't matter how many. You're going to stack them up on their faces, right? Kind of like so. So you're just going to stack them all up, right? We're going to put the clamps on them. Now you want to make sure they're flat, I guess. So make sure they're sitting nice and flat on the face. I'm going to put the clamp on them, like so. Okay, so you have them clamped up. Just like that. Now, what they want you to do is they want you to take the pencil and rub the edges of them. And this is why you need them flat, because you might miss one or two. Now this here is supposedly to help define the face of them, right? Okay, so once you got it like that, now that doesn't look bad, and of course you're going to have to do the other side of them, right, or the other edge. But what I've got over here is, and I know you could probably buy them in the dollar store or any type of art store. Let me find mine here. Just give me a second. Alright, so what I've got here is, you can find these in the art stores. I found mine in the dollar store in the craft section. These are basically just rolled up paper, and they're called blending sticks. Okay, so we're going to try this. I'm going to see if we can make this just a little bit better, a little more uniform. And they're meant for drawing, right? Blending and drawing and stuff like that. Because right now, for what I see, and I know I can't show this on camera, my camera is just not good enough. I'm working on it, but it's not good enough. But I don't know if you can see that at all. Probably not. But anyways, to me it's very blotchy, and you know, isn't going to look very nice if you happen to see it. So by doing this, the paper frays just a little bit, right? And now what I've got is a more uniformed blending of the charcoal on the side of it, right? Now we're going to flip my clamps over to the other side. Just like that. And we're going to do this again. So now we're going to do this side. So give it a good old rub down with the pencil. Now if you have some sort of graphite stick or something, you know, go ahead, use that, you know, because that'll work too. I'm pretty sure maybe a black chalk, you know, or a dark gray chalk or something like that would probably work as well. But this is what the instructions are calling for. So this is what we're going to do. This is how I'm going to show you guys. I may experiment and let you know if something else works better. But for now, this is what we're using. And this seems to be working pretty good. Like I said, blending it definitely makes it, or use the blending stick definitely makes it look a lot better. A lot more uniformed. So there we go. So that's what we're going to do. See, if you look at this, grab another stack here for you. So you got unblended or unshaded and shaded, right? See the difference? So now when you put them, stack them side by side on the decking, if you can see in between the joints, it's just going to help define all these joints, right? So obviously we got a lot to do. So I'm going to do all of these. I'll come back when I'm done with that. But before I go, the thing that we're going to have to do on all the decking, we're going to start with B2. Or, no, not B2. Yeah, B2. And these are B2s, right? Okay. So again, make sure you know which way you're putting them. Okay. And these little pieces have to come out. Okay, so we're going to cut them out. It shouldn't take very long at all. Just a quick little pop there. That one's gone. And this one, like so. That one's gone. Throw that in the scrap wood bin. And a quick little file here once we find it. It's right there. Okay. Don't forget to do the one that's in the middle of your middle plank, right? But we're going to start with this. Now with this, they are showing, let's see here. Yeah, so from the front edge, they're showing like that. So from the front edge, we need 65 millimeter from here to here. So we're going to 65 this thing. Now, of course, you could use the sticks themselves. All right, so we're going to go 65. We're going to do 2 of them here so that we can make a line straight across. Okay, so we're going to straighten this one up. Okay. And we need a second row of 65. Now if you just want to double check your work, just measure from here to here and they should be the same. I've got 15 there and 15 there. So we're good. You can also double check this one, but this is the one you measured from. Not there. Right there. You got 65 there and 65 there. So that's good there. Now at the same time, you got those marks, so you mark the side that you're going to put planking on. We are going to have to stain the underside of everything. Alright, and again, you're going to be using your Ref 19211. Okay, this is the walnut dye that comes with, if you buy the painting kit, this comes with the painting kit. Okay, that's what I use to stain all this. Now, if you look at the reference papers, it tells you to use walnut dye. So if you don't have the painting kit, you can go to your hardware store and pick up the walnut dye if you don't have your dyes and stuff yet, if this is your first ship. So make sure you pick up your walnut dye. You will also need a, I don't even know how to say this, but it's I think it's called Spinelli dye, and I do believe it's kind of another different shade. It's kind of a lighter shade of brown. Okay, and they also have the satin varnish, so you get some acrylic satin varnish. Then there's other colors that you need too. You got the gray primer that comes with the kit, white, black, kind of a baby blue, what do they call it? It just says light blue. And I believe there's a brown one here. Yeah, Jude Bittman. I don't know how to say it. So yeah, there's a few there, a few different colors. And so I'm sure you've probably got paint around, but if you need the dye, go to your hardware store and pick up the dye. So we're going to stain all of these, right? Stain the undersides, and at the same time I'm going to finish marking all the lines on it. And then when we get back, we're going to start putting the planking on all of this stuff. Then we're going to sand it, and then we're going to look at what we're doing for the nails. All right, you go do yours, and if you're not doing one, well, just give me a second. I'll be back. I'll have this stuff stained. I'll have it all marked out, and we'll start doing the planking. I will see you in a few. Okay, everybody. So I've got all the backs of this stuff all stained up. All right, they're all stained. And I went and drew all the lines on. Now I started off by what they said at 65 mil from the very front, right, going out, and then continuing on from there all the way down. Now obviously you've got to alternate the boards so that your next board over is half of your 65. So I went 32.5 and then 65 from there. All right, so I got my solid lines at 65 and my dotted lines at 32.5. All right, I don't know if you can see this. Okay, you see the dotted lines, those are 32.5 between your 65s. Right, now also they state or they wanted you to blacken the edges of the planks, right? So you've got the planks, you blacken the edges with the pencil. Using the blending stick works great. I haven't tried any other method at all. Now something else is when you start your planking, what they want is you to have your first board right at the very edge of this board, right? Okay, so you're going to start like that, right? You start like that, and then when you do the other one, same thing, and then you're going to have the joint showing when you put the ship together, right? Now, me, I don't like that. So you can, if you want, follow the instructions and start one board on this piece and one board on this piece, butt it up together, right? And then when you put everything in, you're going to have that, you'll see that joint, but if it's done nicely, it should look pretty good. But if it's at all off, if either board is at all off, you're going to see like a pretty good gap there. Okay, you know what I mean? Like if it's off at all, if your boards aren't straight or something. So what I opted to do was I found exact center of my piece, of all of them basically. So exact center, all right? Then from there, these are 5 mil wide. So what I did is I went half of that, which is 2.5. So I went 2.5 from one side and 2.5 the other side. Now what that does is put my piece of my first planking, all right, dead center. That's what it does. It puts dead center. Now, by doing that, I started one here so I could show you. By doing that, you can see that the board is hanging off just by a little bit, okay? You see that? It's hanging off by just a little bit, okay? So when you do this, and you put your two pieces together, right? You put them on the ship, it now covers that joint, okay? So, obviously you can't really glue the two together like so. You have to leave them separate, so you're going to glue it only on one side and leave the other side loose, so that when you put them together, you put this one in first, and then when you put this one in, you're going to slide it into place, and it's going to fall into place. So if there's any kind of a gap, you know, there's less likely that you're going to see this ugly gap here. All you're going to see is a same color gap of the wood, right? And so it's less likely to actually see it. So I did that all the way down. So that is now all ready to go. Okay, so you can do it either way, don't matter. Either way it works. You can do it by the instructions that say, you know, start at the edge of the deck, right? Start at the edge of the deck and work across, and then start at the edge of the deck and work across. This one here, you'll have to find center, because obviously by doing so, you can't start at the edge of the deck, right? Because there is no edge of the deck. This one, these two are, and these two are. So you'll have to find where the center of these two decks, start on here and here, mark your line, and then start your boards one way and then the other way. I'm doing it this way, where my first board, my center board, is actually covering the joint. That's the way I'm going to do it. Okay. Now, the other thing is, they want you to completely cover this one, right? Which is normal. So you're going to start there. You're going to cover it all. Obviously, your next one's going to be hanging off like so. I'm just trying to mock this up here for you. All right, so it's going to end up something like that, so that your joints are alternated, okay? But the one that does the 32 mil, right, is obviously hanging off. So once you've got all of this, you've got to cut out this hole. You've got to cut out all these little notches. Then you've got to trim all along your edges. Now, when you get down to the bottom, though, all right, get down to the bottom, you can see that it's hanging off again, right? So you got one there. You're going to have one here on your 65. And then you're going to have this really long one sticking way out. And you're going to have to cut that off, right? Now, which is fine, because you can take those pieces, and in the case of this, you would glue it on here in its respective place, right? Okay. But by cutting this, again, now what you're in a sense doing is, when you put these decks in, you're once again going to have this big joint. And I don't want to see that, okay? I don't want to see this joint, and I don't want to have this extra joint in the plank where it's not supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave all of these bottom ones out, right, where they cross over. Okay, now it's going to make it a little more difficult, but I think in the long run it's going to look a hell of a lot better, because if I leave them all out and just do all these upper ones, naturally you're going to have to cut the top ones out, right, up here. You're going to cut the top ones off and you're going to cut this edge off. But once you're done that and you put everything onto the ship, right, when it's done, then you can come back after and fill in these ones. Okay, so it's going to be a little more work, because you have to kind of place this one, you have to place this one in its place, right, so that you can start your next one. So this one would be here, or you can work from these lines that you drew. Now for me, I prefer continuing off of the boards that are on this piece, just so that if these lines are off a little bit, you're not going to end up with little gaps over on this side. You start this one. So now, once you did that, okay, now you know where these ones can go. So now you can take this one and put it on, you know, and everything stays nice and tight where it needs to be. And then this one, now see, my lines are off just a little bit. So if I followed this one and then put everything together and then filled in across the joint, right, I'd have these little gaps. So I would rather do it this way, a little bit of the hard way. But once you get 2 or 3 down, then you should be able to work all the way across. So my suggestion is, before you start your planking, right, what we're going to do is I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to put tape on here so that everything is nice and tight. Okay, so if everything is nice and tight in its place, then we can flip this over after and plank everything except for where the joint is going across, right? So we can plank everything here, but since it's tight together, we can kind of continue across, but not gluing the ones that cross the joint. Okay, and then from there, once you put your decking in, then you can fill in across the joint. Everything is good. No unnecessary joints that aren't supposed to be there, things like that, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this tape together. We're going to flip it over, and I'm going to start planking this deck. I'll probably show you a few, and then from there I'll just continue on, and then you guys can continue on as well. Now, I'm going to be using this Elmer's Pro Bond Max wood glue, right? It's a contractor's grade, but this is waterproof plus stainable. Now that's a big thing, because if you want to stain any wood deck, your standard wood glue dries to a hard skin and will not absorb stain. This stuff seems to have like a sawdust in it, okay? And I think that's what makes it stainable, right? So if you plan on staining and there's any chance of wood glue showing up, and you try to get rid of all that you can, but if there's any chance that it's going to show up through whatever you're doing, my suggestion is this Pro Bond Max wood glue. It is waterproof and it's stainable, okay? So try to look for that stuff, or something comparable that says that it is stainable, and that'll save you the frustration of you know, having a problems of stain not being taken, and then now you got this big bright white spot of wood where everything else is dark, right? And you got to try and get rid of it and blah blah blah. No. So let's tape this together, let's get a few planks going, and then I will shut down for a bit and get the rest of this planked while you do the same. So I think hopefully it's not going to hurt. Shouldn't hurt. But I'm just going to use this painter's green painter's tape. It's kind of a medium tack paint. So we're going to start by pushing everything nice and tight together, making sure everything is lined up where it needs to be, so that your hole for your mast is lined up, your deck is lined up, everything is in good place, And we're just going to run this right across here. Now, I'm pretty sure that, yes, you're probably going to see a little bit of this from the underside, because this is down in the cargo area, right? But I don't think you're going to see enough of it, so hopefully if there is any type of damage, you won't see it. We'll be good to go. But if anything, all it's going to do is probably pull up some of the stain, which I highly doubt, because I'm still trying to get stain off my fingers. Make sure you wear gloves, please, when you're staining stuff, because yeah, I'm still working at getting the stain off my fingers because I was a bonehead. So all my holes, the edges of my holes all line up. Everything is nice and tight. I'm kind of squeezing together these two pieces, but I'm pulling everything together this way as well, making sure that everything is lined up in there. Make sure everything's pressed down nice and tight so it doesn't come loose while you're working with it later. So now we can gently roll this over, and everything is right where it's supposed to be. So again, we can take some of these that you've charcoaled or whatever you did to them. Now we can put this one down. Okay. Now we could try to see if this will work. It might be a pain in the butt. So our next one, see, we can peel back the tape a little bit. Put this one in its place where it needs to be. Make sure that one's tight up against that one. And put this one back down. So now we can take this one and we can glue it on here up against that one where it's nice and tight where it's supposed to be. We can also glue this one down where it needs to be. Okay. And we're good to go. So check my brush here, because when I did this I forgot to clean it. And since this wood glue is water soluble, even though when it's fully cured it's actually waterproof, but before it's 100% cured, if you happen to forget your paintbrush, just throw it in some water and the glue all softens up and comes out nice and clean. Grab some paper towel, because I was using this glue on the decking on the other ship that I'm working on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a little glue on here and up here, being careful not to glue this center one down, right? Now I need a new plastic cup right there. Get some of this glue out. And what's nice is if it's actually a little too thick, you can throw a little bit of water in there and thin it down just a little bit. Make it a little more smooth to spread out. And I'm just wetting a toothpick, and that seems to be more than enough. 2 or 3 times. It's nice and smooth. Okay, so we're going to take our paintbrush here. Move a couple things so I have a little extra space. So we're just going to take this, a little bit of glue, just up to that piece there. But I do find when you spread this glue, when it's thin, it does dry really quick. So make sure you work in just enough of an area for what you're doing and nothing more. Otherwise, now you're going to have to sand it and get it all off. Now I use a little bit of a flat scraper to just pull off the excess off of the one side, or both sides, don't matter, because it does dry quick. So now we're going to come up to this top one. I'm working on getting another camera, guys, because I can't zoom in. This camera that I'm using does not have autofocus, anything like that. So unfortunately I can't zoom in for you yet. but I am working on getting another one. And that one there does have the capability of zooming in and autofocus and everything else. So it's going to be quite the game changer for me, and hopefully give you guys a lot better pictures. Okay, so now when we take this off, right, which you want to do periodically, just to make sure there's nothing glued down. Now when we move these apart, you're going to have this space in here, which where these ones are going to go, right? So now you can kind of continue on, and then you're going to do the same thing over here, okay? Now with this one, because we're kind of working from the joint, all right, we're going to put that one back, and we're also going to work on this one and kind of work all the way across, and then we can kind of just slowly start working this way. Like I said, it's a little more work, but I think you're going to like the results a lot more, and I think it'll just look to me better in the long run. So now I'm going to put one up here. Just double check and make sure which one was actually glued down or not, so I'm not gluing up to the edge of it and find out I'm gluing down the wrong one. All right. Now let me know if you have any tips or tricks, like if you've done this before and you say, hey, this way would be a lot better. Let me know, because I like learning all kinds of new tips and tricks of all different types. And me, I use a lot of Q-tips, because I'll take this, I'll dip it in the water a little bit and just clean off up top here. Make sure none of the glue is seeped through. I mean, you're going to sand this after anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but it's just something I like to do, than I want to do. The cleaner I keep my stuff, the easier it is later, right? I'll use my handle because it's nice and smooth and flat, not painted, and I can push things down, come along, clean it up, and scrape off the excess so it doesn't impede on what I'm trying to glue down next. So that's the way we're going to go. So I'm going to do a whole bunch here, and I'll come back and I'll show you when we're ready to sand this all, and we'll go from there. Okay, sound good? Have fun with yours. If you're not doing one and you like what's going on here, make sure you hit that thumbs up for me. Give me a follow on my Instagram, my Facebook group. I've been putting pictures there. Links for them are down in the description. Go check them out. And yeah, share these videos. Maybe your grandpa, your father, your son, your mom, grandmother, anybody, friends, family, might want to see these types of ships being built. And let's see what else. Well, hey, if you're not subscribed yet and you're watching this, maybe hit that subscribe button for me, please. Come on. It's not hard. It doesn't cost you anything. It's also free, you know. And if you don't want to miss out on the rest of this or anything else that I do, you know, my plastic model cars, big rigs, my other ship I'm working on, the Cuddy Sark, doing the buddy build with Gilly from the model tank guy. I'm doing a U.S. Navy landing ship buddy build with him. You know, he's got a video out. I've got 1 or 2 videos out already on it. Go check them out. Definitely hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on anything. So I'm going to get back to work on this. Hey, if you could, send me a picture in my email of what you're working on. And if you want a shop card or a sticker or something like that, you want to send me something, hey, send me an email. I'll give you my address, or you give me yours, and I'll send you out a shop card and a sticker, and then we'll go from there. So have fun with yours. I'm going to continue on mine, and we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, everybody, so I've got all the planking done. Finally, after about 3.5, 4 days, right? It's not perfect yet. It's not sanded yet. Now, I did change the way I was going to do it. It was just not going to work the way everything landed on ribs, right? And so what I did was plank the whole thing, and then I cut my 2 joints, right? And that's because in the ship it's actually going to sit kind of like this. Oh, these ends will sit up, right? Now, I did continue doing the centerpiece, the center board, like I said, because these now fold, right? So they now fold in half, right? I just got some tape on the back holding them in place. And then once I put them, just as I put them in, I can put some glue on this edge here where this board overlaps, right? So that'll fold up and that'll glue itself down. At the same time, when I put all these in, I can put glue along this edge, and these will get glued together, and they sit so that the joint is as tight as possible on both ends, right? And this one here as well folds, right? So my next thing that I've got to do is I got to do a rough sanding on these to flatten them out. Then I'm going to painstakingly take one of these broken micro bits. They have a real nice point on them once they're broken off, and put it in a pin vise, and on every one of these joints, right, every one of the joints where the boards meet, okay, I'm going to poke nail holes, two at each end. Excuse me, on each board. Now they show doing that using a pencil, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I'm going to poke holes, but they don't show the 2 in between. So if you look, each board will have two nail holes, but they don't show anything on this board, right? And technically there should be 2 nails on this board, 2 on this one, and then 2 on this one, right? So I'm going to go along and I'm going to do that. You don't have to though. And I'm going to poke all my nail holes. Then I'm going to do a finish sanding, and then they say to varnish this. Now I may do a test piece up here with the nail holes, because technically you should have nail holes all along your edge too, right? And at that point, once I've got that, I'll do a test right at the very edge where you're not going to see it. It's going to be buried deep inside the front of the ship, or the back of the ship, whichever end I do. And then I'm going to throw some varnish on it and see if they show up good enough, or if I'm going to have to go through with either a regular HB pencil or a mechanical pencil, which has a really fine lead, you know, a 0.5 lead, and darken up every nail hole. So I've got that. I got to finish cutting out this hole. Nothing in that one. I think this one has 2 holes in it. Yeah, this one has 2 holes in it that I've got to cut out yet. That's fine. And then we're going to go from there, because I did find a problem in some of their measurements for the boards that go in these holes. There's one here and there's one here that need to be lined with a piece of wood. And so make sure you stay tuned, because that's kind of important. It's a misprint or miscalculation or something that's on the plans, and I don't want you guys cutting the wrong measurement and then finding out it's wrong. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that. So I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. I don't really think I need to show you what I am going to do, but I'll show you real quick here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pin vise. I'm going to take this broken micro bit, put that in there. And this is just to be able to hold it better. Now, I wish I could zoom in. I wish I had a better camera. But I'm going to go to each one. I'm going to shorten this up just a bit here. A little more control. So I'm just going to go to each board and poke 2 holes on either side of each end of the board, or each end of the joint, right? But I'm also going to do 2 holes. Yeah, I'm going to do them diagonally. Hopefully the camera will pick this up. And it's not going to. Anyways, yeah, you'll have to take my word for it. So that's basically what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to do that on every joint. Right? And then we're going to go from there. And from what I'm seeing, I'm going to have to do the pencil. Now again, I don't know if the mechanical one's going to be good enough. I think the lead's going to be too hard for it. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure that this is sharpened up really good. Nice good points on it. This way, you know, you can get into that nice really, holy, that's quite the point. Break that off just a touch. And then we're going to, the camera picked that up. There, you see those few dots there that I put in there, right there. So that's what I'm going to do on all the decking. Now I'll also end up doing this on the upper decking as well. So yeah, you go ahead, get yours done, and I'm going to do mine. It'll probably take about a day to do this, but I got to rough sand it first, then do this, then give it a final sand, clean it off real good, and then we're going to put the varnish on. I'll come back and I'll show you putting the varnish on, right? And then we're going to go from there. So have fun doing yours. If you're not doing yours, well, I'll be back in a second for you, probably about a day for me. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, everybody, so I've got this sanded, and I've got all the nail holes punctured in and darkened, just using that tool that I said, you know, the broken drill bit, and then probably an inch worth of pencil, keeping it sharp and pointed, going through them all, brushing it off with a paintbrush just to get rid of the excess graphite, and then going over it one final time with the sandpaper. Then I used my airbrush, made sure that I blew out all the dust out of all the joints, and this is what we end up with. We end up with a whole bunch of nails in these boards. Now I know if I had a better camera you guys would see more, but I don't. Working on it, but I don't. So I'm going to leave you here at this. I looked at how much footage I've got, and it's actually quite a bit for this episode. So I'm going to leave you here with this. In the next video, we are going to varnish this, and we're going to get it onto the ship's skeleton. Then we're going to move into the next step, right? And yeah, that's going to tell you about the little screw up in the measurements there, and we'll get a lot done next video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button for me and share these videos. Hit that bell button and make sure that all notifications are turned on so you don't miss out on anything. Give me a follow on my Instagram and my Facebook group. The link will be down in the description there for you. And if you want to help out the channel in any way, I do have a PayPal me link down there, and you can visit my Teespring store and pick yourself up some merch. Don't forget to go visit OcCre at www.ocre.com. Link for them will be down in the description. Alright, so go check them out. Maybe pick yourself up a ship or a new tool or cabinet or something. Hey, and an extreme big thanks to OcCre for sending me this ship so I can make videos for you guys. So with all that being said, no matter how long it takes to do something, how tedious it is, just keep picking away at it and you will get it done. But no matter what it is, always build it for you guys. And until next time, later.